Are you interested in learning about entrepreneurship for you or your child? Or maybe you have questions about how to build an online business? Hey, everybody, welcome to Education Options TV and Homeschool Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, David James Rodriguez, and we have a special guest today, a young entrepreneur who has been doing this for a while, and she's going to share a little about her story, how she's selling digital and physical products, an e-commerce entrepreneur, and she started something really cool called Young Entrepreneur School. And so this is one of the reasons that I invited her on the show today to tell her story, to help share with some of you parents out there, some of you young folks, if you want to start an online business, what it might take and how to begin, really how to begin, how to proceed, and we'll learn all about her story here. So before we get into all the details and stuff like that, most importantly, Maddie, Cawley, welcome to the show.
David, thank you so much for having me. I'm super blessed for this opportunity and excited to share some gold nuggets.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm so grateful we get to meet because I think the future is entrepreneurship. I think more mothers, fathers, people seeing what's going on with the internet and commerce in general, that we got to be online and we got to start our own businesses, right? Some of the work I do is about the school system, how it teaches us and people and young people to be employees, and that's fine if you want to do that, but long term we want to be free. That's what this is about, is educational freedom, lifestyle freedom. And some of us don't know how to begin. We don't know the thought process. We don't know where to start. They don't teach us these ways, so we got to go out there and we got to figure it out, and that's what you're doing. And so maybe we can start with maybe your history, your background, like how did you get into e-commerce and how did you start your own entrepreneur school? And then we can kind of go back and dig a little bit deeper.
Awesome. Sounds good. So yeah, I've basically been raised in an entrepreneurial home. My mom is like a serial entrepreneur, has owned multiple businesses, like 7-figure businesses. She's been amazing, a huge mentor, my main mentor, and basically the person I look up to. So I've been raised kind of in that environment. But I actually ended up, I did well in high school and I actually played basketball. And so I ended up going to college for a semester, playing college ball. And I just didn't love it. I went and I wanted to be a physical therapist at the time. Again, I was raised in that entrepreneurial home, but I kind of was like, I saw the good things, I saw the bad things. I was like, I'm going to go my own route. As an 18-year-old kid, I'm like, I'm going to do my own thing. And so I did, went to college, and it just wasn't for me. I got into biology class in about 2 weeks and I was like, this is not it, not for me. Yeah. And so I ended up dropping out. I moved home. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was kind of applying for jobs. And then my sister's birthday, so I dropped out in December, and then my sister's birthday came around in May. And I kind of played around with the idea of like starting my own business, but I had no idea what I was going to do. And so my sister's birthday comes around, and are you familiar with the big yard signs that say like, happy birthday, congrats?
Yes.
Yeah. So my mom was calling some businesses trying to get that for her birthday, and either customer service was awful or there was no availability for like months. And so this was all kind of in the height of when COVID was starting to hit, right? And so it was just they were totally booked out. We couldn't get anything. So we're like, my mom, I was in a room and my mom just kind of offhandedly said the remark, like, if someone were to do this well, they would crush it. And I was like, what if we did it? And so we did. We started that. We launched it in July and ended up doing 5 figures our first month. I think it was 11,000. And we started selling those on Etsy, and we were selling them nationwide rather than renting them. So we were going to start with the renting model, but we realized that that model, we could only serve a certain amount of people. But with the nationwide model and with selling them, we could serve a lot more people. And so we did that, sold them on Etsy, and ended up doing 6 figures in our first year. So it was a huge blessing, and I learned a ton from it, and it's obviously put me where I'm at today. But kind of fast forward. So that was in 2019. Fast forward through those years, I started 2 other e-com brands with my sister. Now after that, we started getting the question from friends, family, parents, hey, how are you guys doing this? And how can we do the same? And so after some brainstorming with my mom and my sister, we thought, you know what, why don't we just teach these people and put everything and all of our teachings in a central location, like our videos. And so, sorry, my dog. And so we did that. We built a course, and it's called the Young Entrepreneur School, and it's been amazing ever since. It's an awesome feeling to be able to empower these kids and teens and show them what's possible. But yeah, that's where we're at today.
Amazing. Congratulations. That's so exciting. So you were selling yard signs, and if I could ask a little bit deeper about it, because it's so exciting, because I'm also learning about Etsy stuff, and with some of the stuff we're learning about ClickFunnels and Shopify, I'm like, oh, so it sounds like it's a very difficult thing, but you just gotta get in there and learn the software or learn what it is. So for your yard signs, because I've never heard of this type of business, is very interesting. But yeah, it's like these big old signs you put in front of the house, and I guess typically they rent them, and then you are selling them. Like, how does that? So like, I mean, congratulations, $11,000 the first month is very powerful. Now, were you just getting the image from, let's say, Canva or some like graphic design situation, and then you put them up there? Or what was the from nothing to a happy customer with the yard signs? What did that look like?
Definitely. So in the very beginning, we obviously had to find a supplier. We were drop shipping. And so basically we had our website set up on Shopify, and then we had our shop on Etsy. We started on Etsy, and that's where we found our most success with that specific product, because it's more custom product. And so started on Etsy, found our supplier, we were drop shipping. And so the person would place the order on Etsy, and then I would get that order and basically forward it to our supplier. And the designs, what was cool was that we actually found a supplier that was already doing this. They were a supplier for yard signs, so they already had the designs. And they were really awesome in a sense where they were like, cool, like we can print anything. And so like we would have some people like printing superheroes, like Spider-Man and Mickey Mouse and all these cool things, right? And I was able to pull product or images from like Canva as well. If someone wanted something super custom, I could design some stuff. My sister took some graphic design classes, and so she was pretty good at that stuff. And yeah, I basically just forwarded the order. I placed them on their site, and they took care of the rest. They fulfilled everything else, shipped it to our customer. And then I made sure after every order, I made sure to track every order. I put them all on my phone. And then once they received the order, I made sure to reach out and say, hey, how was everything? Was it good? And then if we got positive feedback, I was like, hey, awesome. So glad to hear that. Here's a coupon for your next order. And it would really be awesome if you could leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it, since we're a small business looking to grow. So
amazing. Now, so for some of the people who never heard of drop shipping, how would you explain? You kind of went over it briefly, but just these are all new vocabulary words, right? Like we're stepping into a new universe, a new world. And people hear drop shipping a lot. It's like, what the heck is that? So just for the new viewer, what is drop shipping?
It's basically just a fulfillment model within e-commerce. And so drop shipping is where you don't touch the product. You don't hold inventory. You don't store inventory. You have a manufacturer or supplier that basically does the grunt work. They do everything. You just deal with the customer service and then getting them the orders. And then obviously making sure that everything's getting in the right place, tracking orders to make sure everything's delivered in the right place. But it's a really awesome model to start with, because you're not having to order a ton. You're not having to spend a ton of money up front. There's not a lot of upfront cost. And that's why we loved it. Obviously, because I was just a kid that just came out of college, and my parents were obviously willing to help, but they were like, hey, like, we don't want to put hundreds or thousands of dollars in the inventory up front, and unless you can prove the concept. And so drop shipping was the perfect model for that, because it was little to no startup costs at all, other than like a domain on GoDaddy for like, I think $11 a year or something like that.
That's a good deal, right? $11 a year.
Right.
Yeah. So it's amazing, because like traditionally in business, right, you'd have to invest and get these signs or get the ink or get the printers, and then you don't even know if it's going to work. So yeah, that's what's so exciting about nowadays, is that you can, like you said, prove the concept. And so the only cost with a website and then your sister's doing the graphic design, God bless her. So like you basically just get that website and get the design up, and then how are you getting the customers to go there? Were you like calling up different businesses, or how are you getting the customers to actually go check out your thing?
Definitely. So what's cool about Etsy is that they drive the traffic. So here's the pros and cons. Etsy, what's awesome is that they drive the traffic. You can run Etsy ads for like $5 a day. It's awesome. So when someone searches yard letters, you're up there with your other competitors. I'm so sorry. We have a big dog. But the downside is that you have all your competitors listed next to you. Because it's this one platform where there's a lot of different sellers trying to sell a specific item. Now the upside, now let's flip over to Shopify. Shopify, it's basically your own website. So you're driving traffic to your specific domain or to your specific website. So like when I said our GoDaddy domain, that was our Shopify site. We paid like $29 for a Shopify site as well. So it was $40 or whatever for all of that. But again, you have to drive the traffic. So whether that's with ads, your social media, you're having them click a link to go to the specific place where it's just you. So con, you may have to spend some money in order to like ads in order to get traffic there. But pro for Shopify is that you are the only one there. You're driving the traffic straight to your website and it's all you. So there's obviously pros and cons to both, but for our specific niche and what we were selling, Etsy was literally perfect because it was starting to kind of pick up steam. What we were selling, the yard letters, it was really big, especially with what was going on a few years ago, where everyone was at home and drive-by birthdays were humongous. They exploded. And so, yeah, it really depends on what you're trying to sell for a specific platform. Again, with Etsy, we find that like a ton of custom products do really well on there.
And so the actual sign is like I don't know, like a huge print operation, but you have the manufacturer, and so you just set up your Etsy shop, and then once you get the order, then you would go submit that to the manufacturer.
Yeah, exactly. And we would give them access as well. So like we were comfortable with our supplier. We would just give them access to our Etsy store once we got to a certain point. And they started just seeing, they would log in, have it up on their dashboard, and every morning our fulfillment manager from our supplier would look in and say, okay, here's the orders, and they would just fulfill it. So again, I would just double check with them, make sure they got the orders and everything's looking good. And then I would just double check with the customers.
Wow, very cool. And what do you charge for yard signs? Hundreds or thousands of dollars, or what's that?
Hundreds, more in the hundreds range. Yeah. So like, what was cool was like for a happy birthday sign, now again, with costs have risen since due to like last year, all the supply and demand stuff. But a few years ago when we started, for a happy birthday sign, it was like $97. 97, or for our bigger letters, it was like 160, I believe. And so, yeah, and people would do happy birthday, congrats, will you marry me? We got a lot of those as well, which was cool. And yeah, then we also started selling like start your own yard letter business for rental businesses. So people would buy these packs for a couple $1,000s or more high ticket packages. And we basically give them all the supplies they need to start their own rental business where they're at.
Wow. So you did that with the same store, or like it started a new store?
Same store.
Same store. Yeah. And then that's awesome. So that's like, because now, so some of the people out there, like, high ticket is larger price, or I could be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and it allows you to serve the customer better, and it allows you to make some more money. So that's very powerful. So was that very profitable as well, and that we were selling that one pretty well?
Definitely. Really? Yeah, it was really good.
Wow. And what did you call that one? A rental package?
That was just our basic like build your own business bundle. That business was called Letter My Landscape, the yard sign business. And we have since sold it. But yeah, it was really fun. It was a great first business.
Wow. Very cool. Well, see, that's what's so exciting now is that you were doing that at age 18, 19. Yeah. You're still a young one, and you're an adult too, right? So we're not saying you're like a child, you're an adult. So that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you dropped out of college. I think that's a very smart move
Great.
to listen to your heart, and that's what parents, you want to look at your child out there, is if they're not feeling it, let them be free. She could always, go back to college if she wanted, but you
Exactly.
know, after all these years, if you're not enjoying it, then stop it, and go do something new. And so now you can see, Maddie's doing really well. So then you evolved. So you had the yard sign business, and then now you're doing is the Young Entrepreneur School. Is this the next thing that you started?
Definitely. So yeah, so we had two other ecom brands that we started. Those did well. And then again, we started getting those questions, and this is our next big thing. What I'm currently focusing on is the Young Entrepreneur School, and just empowering other kids, teens, young adults to start their own online businesses, and to realize that there are other paths than your 9 to 5, college, what everyone else does, and I think a great book, like I literally have it right here, and it just caught my eye, but Outwitting the Devil, I read that, and it just totally made me realize, like, wow, like that's it. It just kind of opens your eyes to the things that are going on. And it's a really powerful book. But I read that, and it's just, I wanted to empower other kids. Because again, I was really blessed with the opportunity to be raised in an entrepreneurial home, but most
Yes.
kids don't get that opportunity. So I want to show
Yes.
them what's possible, show them and their parents included what's possible.
Amazing. Oh man, Outwitting the Devil, Mom and Dad. If you haven't read that book by Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, amazing. The short story here, just a little divergent because it's such a powerful book. I think it was written like 70, 80 years ago,
Yeah.
and Napoleon Hill, he knew he was no, he was criticizing the sacred cows, which were the school system and the church. I can't remember, was it just those two organizations or was it one more? Uh,
I think just over even the government
oh, the
as
government
well.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling it out. And we see what's going on now with the whole COVID BS stuff. And it's all freedom of choice, just so you know.
Right.
But very serious problems out here in California, locking down businesses. So you can't depend on the government. You can't depend on these school systems. But what you're so blessed, your sister as well, is to have parents that have that mindset of, oh, we're just going to create our own solutions, our own wealth, our own abundance. And I think this is one of the key solutions, maybe as our kind of joint mentor Russell Brunson pointed out recently, was that and this is Ayn Rand too, right? Like the entrepreneurs are the prime movers.
Yes.
So any change you want to see on the planet, it's not going to come from some politicians or some people complaining or crying about it. It's like going to be us. And
Yeah.
so, it's that book, he calls it out. And so some of the folks know my work in education as well. And John Taylor Gatto, a school system is basically a day prison. Okay. So it's just like, hey, the world's the classroom, and anything you can learn from can be the teacher. So this is some of
Right.
the concepts that we're promoting, and you're doing it too. So that's exciting. Outwitting the Devil really inspired you, and now you started Young Entrepreneur School. And
Yes.
I saw this. I was like, oh my gosh, man, it's so cool, such a good name. So I got homeschool entrepreneurs. So it's all about helping the young people learn some of these basic concepts, and then once you got the foundation, then you can actually start building something on that. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the program.
Yeah.
You said it's a course. How long is it? Maybe some of the things they'll learn, or maybe some of the modules, or just some of the key ideas that they can get in it, because it seemed to be quite an
Definitely.
affordable course.
Definitely. Okay, so basically, once they get into the Young Entrepreneur School, right now we have it to where they can learn how to sell physical or digital products. We have kind of two different members areas. Once they get access to both. And it's basically just modules. I believe it's like 5 to 8 hours of training, video training, and then I provide a ton of other resources as well. We have a Facebook group where I'm in constant communication every day. We're building that community, because again, like, yes, I can be out here teaching, but you're gonna, especially being in the entrepreneurial world, you're gonna get a lot of your friends saying, like, what are you doing? Like, that's not gonna work, especially at our age, And so I feel like building that community as well, of having other like-minded young entrepreneurs, encouraging, knowing exactly where you're going, what you're doing, is really helpful. And so we do that with the Facebook group. And eventually what I'm trying to do, I'm kind of focusing it a little bit. But what I'm trying to do is basically have this one big membership site, and I'm going to bring in other experts from other industries. So such as real estate, Airbnb, marketing, sales, just these other experts from specific wealth generating skill sets. And they're going to come in and teach a 30-minute to an hour class and provide value in whatever way they can. And so I'm going to interview, I want to have one a week. I want to release one a week inside the membership, but I'm not the expert in Airbnb, real estate, marketing, but there's people a lot better than me, sales, all kinds of stuff, right? So I want to invite those people in so that they can provide value. And so, yeah, we basically are going to start having that where we have those experts come in, teach, and then they'll provide free resources as well. And yeah, I'm really excited because again, it's just learning wealth generating skills, rather than learning things that don't really benefit you and then just working a 9-to-5 job and hating it. Learn a wealth generating skill like real estate, sales, marketing, and then you can use that and have control over your own future rather than letting other people control you, and being powerless.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're one of the visionaries of your time, Maddie, because that's exactly what it is, like understanding the job market. Is like, okay, that's fine. We're not poo-poo jobs. We're just saying
Right.
that we want to have more choices and
Right.
create
Have the
actual.
freedom to do what we want.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
And abundance, and lifestyle and all these things that we all want, but then we're like, well, how do you get there? So
right.
I'm sure it was really impactful that you had parents who were entrepreneurs. But when did you first start to, I don't know, see yourself as someone able to do this? Was it just like, right when you graduated high school, or like you started some like smaller business when you were a kid or something? Or when did you start to really like, oh man, mom's doing this, or dad, I could do something like this?
Right. Right. So, I mean, again, like I always saw my mom doing it, but what's funny is I was kind of hard-headed and I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. So that's where kind of the physical therapy came in. I was like, oh, I'm just going to be a physical therapist. Awesome. I ended up tearing my ACL my senior year. And so I kind of went through PT and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I did that and I started realizing really quick, again, wasn't for me. And I wasn't going to be able to have control over my own future unless I owned like a clinic myself. And so I was going to have to be an entrepreneur. And so again, I moved home and I started realizing that like, you know what, I do want to start a business, but I have no clue how. And so again, with the help of my mom and doing some research, that's how we found the yard letters and Etsy and all of that good stuff. But I really didn't I didn't believe what was possible until it actually happened. And so like when we started the Yard Song, my goal in the first month was to make like, I think $500. The first month I was like, okay, like if we make $500, like cool, like that'd be awesome. And then we ended up hitting 5 figures. I was like, oh, and it totally just opened my eyes to what's possible. And I was like, wow, like if I am just getting started or if I'm just doing this and that happened, like imagine what happens if I put even more of my attention and focus into this and more of my time into this, And so, and it also helps going to these huge mastermind events and like Funnel Hacking Live with Russell Brunson, showing you what's possible and networking with other like-minded people and seeing what they're doing. And it's just like, it's amazing, and it just totally opens your eyes to all opportunities out there because not many people get the opportunity to go to those events or to see these things and they don't even know what's possible. But if you just open the door a little bit, it just totally opens up so many opportunities. And if you put yourself in those environments, then you're going to be on the path to success. So,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. No, beautiful. Yeah, you got to put ourselves around the right people, right? This is one of the key things, like
Definitely.
most businesses won't succeed, but it doesn't matter. Like what says the average multimillionaire has like 9 or 11 failed businesses or something like that. And so
Right.
as coming from the educational system, we're not supposed to fail, but it's like no, failure is good. Failure is how you learn, and it
Yes.
doesn't. It's not saying that you're a failure. It's just saying this thing didn't work out, and you can try something new. So
Definitely.
amazing.
No,
Go ahead. Mhm.
I love that. I love that you say that because that's like one of the main things, especially I find with like teens and young adults and like our generation, so many people, yes, they may be interested in starting these things and maybe they get it started, but they quit so quickly. It doesn't work in the first week, or they don't get the same results they saw on the website or whatever. And so they quit rather than staying consistent and doing the little things. That's what separates the top 1% from the other 99%, is those other 99% are quitting after it doesn't work the first time, or after they fail 1 or 2 times. And so the most successful people in the world have failed multiple times, just like you said. But the reason why they were the most successful was because they stayed consistent in doing the little things and they didn't give up.
Right. Yeah. So was it easy to get your first sale with your letter business, or like how much? I guess you said like the first month, so that could be like the first week, or like
Right.
4 weeks, and you're banging your head up against the wall, or was it just like, oh, you get the image, and it was like really easy? What was that first customer experience like?
So we built the business in about 2 months. My sister and I made graphics on Canva, and then we made the shop, made it live. I believe it was July 3rd. And then we went to Florida for a family vacation, and I wasn't really paying attention to it. And I checked it 2 days later. So it's like, oh, cool. Like we launched this, right? I checked it 2 days later and we had our first sale. And so it took 2 days to get our first sale. And yeah, what's cool with Etsy is that they kind of boost whenever you start a store or stuff. And especially if you're running like cheap ads, like $5 a day ads, they boost it. They boost your listing. They try to help those newcomers. And so, yeah, we got our first sale on the first day, and then the next one was the next day. And then it just kind of started snowballing because we were getting we got good reviews from those people. And obviously with Etsy, they reward good reviews, response time, good customer service, all that good stuff. So.
Wow, incredible. Then have you done any sales prior to this, or was just like school, physical therapy?
It was just school. I was just focused on doing this again. Like I was I was hard-headed. So I was like, I'm going to be a physical therapist. And I identified as a basketball player. That's just what I was. I played and I was an athlete. And so it wasn't until I got home and realized what was possible that I was all in on it, I guess you could say.
And how much influence was your mother in it? Because I met your mother, she's awesome,
Yeah.
real powerhouse. So if you have that type of influence, was she like pushing you at all, or kind of like hands off and kind of letting you develop?
She was totally, she would kind of say things here and there, but she was not pushy at all. She wanted me and my sister to have our own paths. And if we did become entrepreneurs, secretly, she says this now, but she's like, secretly, I was hoping you'd be an entrepreneur, but I didn't want to force anything on you, because again, it's your life and I want you to decide what you want to do, but when I was willing to learn and when I was ready, she was all hands-on, helping and kind of guiding me in the right direction. But she had never had any experience with Etsy. She had some experience with selling products on Amazon, but yeah. And what's cool is that Etsy is a pretty simple platform to grasp and to understand once you kind of mess with it for a few days. So and what's cool is like you have tools like YouTube or stuff like that. And so that's what we started doing.
Very cool. And so how long would you say it took for you to feel comfortable on Etsy? Was it a short process or a long process?
I would say the first month. I'd probably say a month. Yeah, so I was pretty confident with Etsy after about a week of using it, but just kind of getting myself into the business as a whole and kind of like just getting my feet like set, I would say a month, with the orders coming in and me sending it to the suppliers and placing orders and stuff like that. Yeah, I'd probably say a month, because again, I was working every day for a long time.
Yeah, talk about the work ethic that you put in and what to expect for some of the people, so they know like what is the mindset and the work ethic that is required.
Definitely. I worked a lot, but it paid off. It's whatever you focus your attention and your time to is probably what's going to flourish and grow. And so I spent a lot of my time, I would work every day for weekends. I would try to not work as much. I'd go to church on Sundays with the family, and I dedicate Sunday as a family day. But every other day I was working a lot. But what was cool is like, I kind of overworked myself in a sense where like I was putting a lot more, I was I was working a lot more than I really needed to. I was going above and beyond. But again, that's kind of what made us into who we were. I was probably I would start working around 10 o'clock and be done around 7. And I would take breaks here and there. I'd eat lunch. I would watch YouTube for 30 minutes or whatever, but that's what most of my days looked like. I would place orders in the morning from the previous day and then work on fulfillment and contacting customers. But what was cool was like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't constant like 7 hours on the computer. Like that's just that's like a rough estimate because I'm off my phone. I'm just responding to customers basically. And at the end of the day, I'm making sure our orders went out that were supposed to go out and stuff like that. And so I was on call, I guess you could say, for like 7 hours.
Nice.
A day. But
so you got to put in some work, but like you said, it's not like crazy, but you can search on YouTube and learn and educate yourself. So was YouTube your primary educational source to learn about Etsy, or was there other sources too?
Yeah, so I watched a few videos, but really with Etsy, I just kind of went on the platform and looked around and just kind of played with things. It's really not too difficult. And what's cool is like, they made it pretty simple. Like when I first signed up, they sent like, here's what you need to get started and stuff like that. And so I just kind of followed the step by step. And I watched a few videos for things I didn't understand, but they make it pretty simple, which is really cool. It's not too overwhelming. It's not anything like techie or anything. Like I'm not a tech wizard. Like, yes, I've developed skills over the years for building funnels and websites and all that stuff, but I was by no means like a tech expert at the very beginning, and there's no need to be. You don't have to be that. So yeah, and what's cool is like for our Shopify store, if I didn't know how to do something, I would just go on Fiverr and hire someone for like range from $5 to $50, and they would help with everything. And so that was a really cool tool that I use, and I still use to this day a lot, because it gets all the little busy work. You hire someone to get all the busy work tasks done, and it makes it to where I can focus on the needle movers in our business.
Yeah, it's a great website, Fiverr, because other experts out there, and this is what we don't learn in schools, is that we don't have to do it all. There's other people who can do it, who've been doing it. We don't got to reinvent the wheel, but it's like the mindset. And so maybe you can share some of your advice for, let's say, talk about some potential, let's say, teenagers or people that they want to get into some online business and they're not sure they can do it, they're lacking confidence, or what would you say to, let's say, like a 14, 15-year-old or somebody who's like, I want to do it, but like I don't know how and I don't know what to think about it, stuff like this. What would be your suggestions?
I would definitely say find a mentor. Learn from people who have been where you're wanting to be. I had my mom, but I've also learned from Russell Brunson, Alex Hormozy, these big top guys who have been or who are where I'm wanting to be. And so I think that would be huge. Obviously reading books. Like I was I loved reading books when I was a kid. And then when I got into middle school, high school, I was like, I don't love it. Now I read a book a week. It's just, this is how you learn. And then, but with that being said, you have to implement what you learn. Like a lot of people take the knowledge and they just store it and they're like, oh, cool. Like now I know something new. Yeah, that's cool. But if you implement that knowledge, then that's where you're really going to see the growth. And so I would definitely say that. And then to learn, again, we talked about this earlier, but just to train and to stay in that positive mindset and to learn that it's okay to fail. And then to stay consistent in doing the little things and to not give up too quick. The people that succeed and win are the people that never give up, plain and simple. And so, yeah, that would be my few little pieces of advice.
Find a mentor, read some books, implement it. And I can't remember something I heard recently, but it's without consistency, you don't get stuff done, so it's like we get something going and we're like, oh, that was cool, but then like we don't move it continually, and so it just stays there. So there's all these different partial projects. I'm like, I gotta finish one. And stay on
Right.
that. So, well, that's really cool, man. I thank you for sharing some time, and
Yeah,
maybe you can share with some of the audience where they can learn more about anything that you're doing or follow you, and yeah, stay in contact with you.
definitely. So Instagram is my main thing. So like my personal is Maddie.Cawley. And then our business is Young Entrepreneur School. And then our website, if you want to check that out, is theyoungentrepreneurschool.com. Um, but yeah, that's where you find us.
Very cool. Well, thank you for taking the time, and for mothers and fathers out there, and even young future entrepreneurs. Maddie is an example of what you can do when you put your mind to it and put yourself around the right people and find out what you want to do. She didn't want to do physical therapy, so she changed. So, some of the mothers and fathers out there, if your child doesn't want to do it, let them decide, let them explore, and you'll see, they'll have a success story just like Maddie. And if you're looking to learn about entrepreneurship, Russell Brunson's a good guy, and there's a bunch of other people. You mentioned Alex Ramosi. So now this is so interesting because we live in the age of information, the age of knowledge, and so these devices that change the world. So ignorance
Yes.
is a choice, and
Yes.
you're not alone out there. So you can join her group, our group, and find out. There's a bunch of people out there, but the main thing is to decide inside yourself that you want to learn to make some money from home, that you want to learn about respectful models of learning outside of government school, outside of the traditional status quo of what the corporations want you to do, or whoever, the media or politicians. Forget all those people. What do you want to do? What are you excited about? What are you interested in? So, Maddie, thank you for joining us on Education Options TV and Homeschool Entrepreneurs, where we are learning how to earn income from home, learn about respectful models of learning. And thank you for taking the time. I hope people go check out your website and stay connected with you online. And we'll look forward to staying in touch. And we'll look forward to you viewers staying in touch on the next episode here, as we're talking with entrepreneurs and respectful school founders to empower you and your family. Thank you, everybody.